What's up, guys? Welcome to a multi-episode series that we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a lot of the HuntXP team together, some of the core of our community, and talk turkey hunting. You're going to hear from a lot of different voices. A lot of these guys have hunted together, some of whom are related to me. And we're going to break it up into a couple parts. This first part, we're going to talk about how to find turkeys and how to roost birds and how close is too close for a morning setup and things like that. In later parts, we're going to get into calling, sealing the deal, what sort of decoy setup to use. We're going to tell a bunch of stories that you can learn from, that we've learned from for sure. So here's episode 1 of this series. Let's jump in. What's up, and welcome to the next episode of the HuntXP podcast. We are pumped for this one. This is our turkey series from an assortment of the HuntXP team. As you can see, if you're watching, and we'll hear in a little bit if you're just listening, there's 5 of us tonight. So we've got, I'm just going to rattle off the names, and then I'm going to ask them to maybe reintroduce themselves because there's some faces you may have seen in previous episodes but might be new to you. So we got Travis, my older brother. Travis is here, based in Ashland, Wisconsin. We got Ben, cousin of mine, been on the pod before, also in Ashland. And Cody, my younger brother, out in Idaho, who has been on the pod before as well. And of course, as always, this co-host and quick to crack a joke, Jonny, is here. Why don't you guys give us a little bit, Travis, starting with you. For those of you who didn't catch you on an earlier podcast, give us the lowdown on who you are, what you're up to.
I'm Travis. So obviously JD covered the brother thing. Married to my beautiful wife, Shanna. It's almost 17 years now. We have 3 boys. I am a follower of Jesus. Yeah, I love that we get to talk about turkey hunting because that's right up there for me as a favorite. So I'm excited. I love to go after ducks and geese, and I will do anything if pressured within reason. But those are my favorites. So yeah, is there more you want to know? I mean,
that's all we want to know about you, Trav.
Things like bowling, cribbage, euchre, other such things.
Sounds good. Ben,
all right.
Tell us about yourself.
My name is Ben Larson. I've been on here a few times, also related to Justin, Cody, and Travis. We're cousins. Yeah, love hunting, love Jesus, love Jonny. I do have a wife.
I also love you.
Yeah,
I forgot that one.
Yeah, I do have a wife and 3 kids as well, but I don't know how long I've been married, so I'm going to leave that one out.
That's good.
Could
Cody.
make it a game to guess.
15.
See,
it's either
15.
Is it 15? All right.
Well, I mean, no one's going to tell us otherwise.
Sure.
Cody, tell us about you, man.
Yeah, related to everyone except for Jonny here, and grew up hanging around with Jonny too because Jonny was always around the house as well. Same as everyone else, love hunting, love Jesus. I too like to party, but my name is not Dave. But sorry, I had to throw at least one reference in there. No, I love hunting. Turkey hunting, yeah, is a favorite as well. It's fun to run around the woods in springtime. So excited to talk about all the stuff.
That's awesome. We all have maybe not hunted turkey with everyone on this call, but there's this web of stories and connections that go back many years of turkey hunting experience that we have. So my hope is to walk through a long conversation, might be in 2 parts here. And if you're listening to this and you're either starting into turkey hunting and you want to just get the lowdown from some guys who've been doing it for a while, you're in the right place. or if you yourself have been in the woods in a while and you're just looking for a fresh take, maybe to pick up a few tips or something like that, or just listening on some good stories. Cause I'm sure I know these guys got good stories about me hunting turkeys, and we have hunted so much with each other that I'm sure those will come up. So I've prompted these guys, and I hope we can just walk through from, hey, I want to kill a turkey, to, hey, I killed a turkey. Now what? And there's a lot of steps in between. So let's real quick, though, tell us, each of us, about briefly your turkey hunting experience. Where have you hunted and how have you primarily hunted? Let's start the same way we went around. Trav, you start, Ben, and we'll go from there.
So almost all my experiences hunting in Wisconsin, and we started in zone 1, which is like southwest corner of Wisconsin. So there's a lot of agriculture mixed with hardwood ridges, and that's kind of where we started. And ever since my very first time, I loved it. My very first time out, I was with Ben, actually. And I was about to shoot the most beautiful turkey. And then, wham, Ben decided that I was waiting too long. But didn't matter. It was actually a huge blessing. I went out the next day and called my own in, which I think was like kind of the confidence booster that I needed to make it a lifelong pursuit. And I've been every spring since then, and I don't even know how many years that's been chased after turkeys. So I've done a little bit now of trying to get a Merriam in South Dakota, and I have been unsuccessful, but it is on my next trophy to tackle, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'd like to do that. So that's kind of the next adventure I'm going on. Plus, like, I think the next adventure for me and many of us is our kids are getting older. So my boys have started turkey hunting. My wife is turkey hunting, and getting them turkeys is a different kind of adventure too.
All right, my turn. I do have stories about Trav too, but we'll hold off on those. So
Be gentle.
Yeah.
We need a whole podcast episode, stories about hunting with Trav.
Yeah, like breaking the law. Is that okay to bring up? Doesn't matter. I'm good anyways. It's Trav's story. So
hey, you get to have a story about Trav breaking the law and me breaking the law. Look at that.
Yeah, actually, I've 4 stories with both of you, and 2 of them breaking the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at that.
I have no memory of this.
Mm.
That's not going to hold up in court.
Nope. But anyways, yeah. So I actually haven't traveled all around turkey hunting out of Wisconsin. I've done a lot of turkey hunting, like a serious amount of turkey hunting. Everything's been in the northern. I've done a lot of northern Wisconsin turkey hunting, mid, and then southern Wisconsin turkey hunting. And they are all different. They each have their own awesome differences. But yeah, I did a little bit of what you call, like, maybe a little guiding when I was younger. Then I had my second kid, and I had to wrap it up. But other than that, just Wisconsin. But I will be going. I do want to do my Grand Slam, but I just got to have time, and I'm going to do it all in a year or 2 and get her done. Yeah.
We got to graduate some kids.
Yep. Yes. Yep.
Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah. I mean, I've been turkey hunting almost every year since I was like 12, I guess. And yeah, it's always been fun. First time shooting a turkey was with my dad, and I'm pretty sure that was Dad's first year. No, would have been Dad's like maybe second or third year going, and we both had pretty much the same amount of knowledge about what we were doing, which was very minimal. So that was fun. But yeah, it's awesome. It's fun because I feel like every year you're like, all right, I got it figured out, and then you learn something new about turkeys every year, which is fun. So I've hunted pretty much only in Wisconsin for turkeys, except for 1 year in South Dakota. Got close to getting some turkeys that year. That was fun, chasing around, doing new stuff that we hadn't done before, but haven't shot. Yeah, I've only shot Easterns, no Merriams yet. Hoping to do that, though, out here in Idaho this spring, which would be fun.
Jonny, what's your experience, man?
Yeah, I've been at it since I think 2016 or so. Was kind of just like, been a pretty hardcore whitetail and elk and mule deer hunter for a long time, but looking for something to do in the spring. And actually, it was through some conversation with Ben that it was just like, hey, you ought to try it. And so I tried it, and somehow, well, the dumbest animal in the woods in the spring is a jake. It's a teenage boy. And I somehow fooled him with a diaphragm call that I could barely make any noise out of. And I was sitting up against a skinny fence post that was skinnier than me. I don't know how it worked out, but I shot this jake my first year, and I was hooked and been shooting toms and since, and getting more better every year. I feel like I had a lot of fun with Ben primarily, and my cousin Kevin. We like to do this all together, and it's a blast. And now we take our kids every year. That's coming up this weekend, and yeah, that's been the biggest joy, I think. Last season, sitting with my boys and watching them both in the same hunt shoot their first birds was pretty fantastic. So yeah, it's been awesome to see their passion for it too. It's been great.
That's awesome. All right. We're entering in a free for all now, so I'm not going to ask you to go around.
Wait, you didn't do yours.
Oh, I didn't do mine. Mine has been mostly with these guys on this call. So I have much of the same answers, but not as much experience because I missed some years in college and traveling around and stuff, but primarily Wisconsin, a little bit in Minnesota now that I have lived there. I got an archery tom in Minnesota a couple of years ago. That was fun. So that's a different thing that I do a little bit. Going to do that again this year. So I'm stoked for, it's like another level of challenge with the bow. That's me. No Miriam's on my, haven't punched any Miriam tags either. Would love to do that. All right. Well, let's walk through it and let's start with gear. So I know that you can get it done with like very minimal gear because that was us when we were starting off. At least it was me, like barely some camouflage and a shotgun I borrowed from someone, and someone else was calling for me and got it done. So we know you can go minimal, but I guess the question for someone who's new or someone who's been doing it for a while is there gear you use now that you wouldn't go out in the woods without? And then is there gear that you've kind of left behind as the years have gone on that initially you thought you really needed, but you don't think you do as much anymore?
Face mask
I
and
think
face
a good
paint.
seat.
Either or.
In the
Go ahead,
positive
Ben.
or negative?
Positive. Gotta have a face mask or face paint. Unless you're in a tent, but so many people overlook that. Yeah.
Yep. I think we should say that too. Probably most of us run and gun more than we sit. I mean, we do. All of us probably end up doing both, but I think, like you just said, Ben, that's huge. I think with that, I said good seat. So I remember starting no seat, no cushion. Now, the vests are so well made, but I feel like that's vital to have like the ability to sit still for maybe an extended period of time while you are waiting for a bird to come in. So having a good seat to me, especially as I get older, that's important.
That's great. That's great. I'll just add a little bit about face mask as a glasses wearer. I don't wear contacts. So if you're the same, if you run glasses, face masks can be hard. So you can go the face paint route, which I'm actually going to try this year. Or I've found there's certain face masks that are super light material and then they have like a wire frame so that there's a lot, you get the same concealment, but it's not like tight up against your face where you're creating fog. So it's just a pro tip for glasses wearers out there is a wire frame with like almost like a light mesh that's kind of flow in the wind so you can get airflow and still get the concealment. Yeah, that's great. What kind of shotguns do you guys all have? What kind of guns are you shooting?
I have a Winchester SX3, and I have a Carlson choke tube in it. And I think I've shot all my birds with that one. But one thing that I really do enjoy about that one is the ease of it. It just seems really well balanced. It's kind of a multi-purpose gun, right? Good for waterfowl, good for everything. But I think a big deal is having that choke tube on it. Yes, you can kill a turkey without a choke tube. I've shot one with a full choke before, but I just think if you want to keep that pattern tight and have a little bit of extra distance on it, I think a choke tube is highly recommended. I want to say one thing about gear just because I didn't chime in, but I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm going to use a box call. I'm going to use all these calls. And it's good to have a ton of calls or, experience. And there's certain scenarios for a lot of it. But I do actually remember when I was just getting into it, Ben was like, it's a game changer if you can learn to use a diaphragm, because when that turkey's in tight and can see you, you can make the noises you need without moving or very minimal movement, especially if you have your face mask. You're not putzing around with your hands. You can leave your gun up. You can do all that stuff. And so I highly recommend learning to use a diaphragm. And it's going to be tough right away. You're going to make weird noises. You might gag on it, whatever, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And then going back to the gear thing too, JD, there's a hat. It's like I don't know. They make a few different styles. The one I have is like a boonie or whatever, but they have slits, like you have your eye holes and then there's actually slits. So like you tuck it under, you put your hat on, and then when you're ready, you like take your hat off, face mask comes down, and then you can actually put your glasses right through. It's pretty sweet. So I don't have it with me, but it's pretty cool. I've used that one for a little while now, and I like it because it's pretty lightweight. And then it's leafy, so there's like some texture to it. It's pretty cool. But
There you go.
and then you don't have to like keep your face mask on. It just like goes on top of your head, and then when you're ready, you just
There you go.
away you go. But yeah,
It's like a welding shield. Just drop it down when you're ready to fire up.
yeah, right. It's like a visor.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it works pretty good, pretty nice.
So me, like diaphragm calls, like Jonny said, I actually don't pack any. I don't own another call other than diaphragm calls. I have probably 8 or 9 that I keep in my vest just at one time. Not that I use all of them at during one hunt, but diaphragm calls huge. My Tom decoy throughout the season, different times of the season, I will not leave without my Tom decoy. That's for sure. Now, if you're on public land or different states, that could be different. There's different laws for different states using Tom decoys, and public land, you got to be safe. But I will not. Yeah, love the Tom decoy. Do a running and gunning with that thing always. I would rather not wear camouflage and bring my Tom decoy. Yeah.
I remember I picked that up from you in camp. You were not there, but I think your learning and preference for the Tom decoy infiltrated our camp even, and we started to use it more and more. And I could see a marked difference when we started doing setups with. We'll get into setups a little bit later, but I just wanted to emphasize that I've seen the same results in using the Tom more than the Jake and Hen typical setup. But we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like with my seat, it's tied into a good vest. I mean, I know you can do it without, but I just find having a good vest, especially for the style of that we mostly do, you know, where we usually are out half a day at a time. So there's a lot tied to that. Just being able to carry everything. Like Ben just mentioned, you have your gear, your calls, water, you know, snacks. Critical to have snacks. Not really a gear, but
essential.
Should bring it with you anyway.
Yeah, that's one thing that I actually started. Like I started out with a vest, and I don't really run a vest anymore. I'll only do like my bino harness or a backpack if I know I'm going to be out for a little while. But it's like a backpack that's like super comfy, and it's just like a catch-all. I just throw all my stuff in there, and then whatever my calls all are in my bino harness. So like I try and have a setup so that if I needed to, literally all I have is my harness and my gun, and I can go kill a turkey. But yeah, having something like whether it's a vest or a backpack that you can carry stuff in is handy for sure.
So you have no pad that you sit on?
Yeah.
No, I just attach it.
I'm sitting in my
like, you
office
must be
right now,
so young that works for you.
I don't go anywhere without them.
Yeah. Never mind. No, I just attach it to my belt and it just stays with me. Yeah.
Nice. I finished your question for you.
Dude. Nice. All right, man, let's get into this. How do we hunt these things? Let's start with scouting. So e-scouting from up and then boots on the ground. So let's say, for the sake of experiment here, you either get a new chunk of pretty large property or you're starting out, you don't have private permission, you're going to public land. What are the key features that you could see from Onyx, Spartan Forge, that you are going to key in on if you're going in blind to a certain area or you want to do some scouting? What features are you looking for?
Agriculture, I think, right? Any kind of agriculture that you can see. even like when we hunt public land where we've hunted for years, we kind of like, well, where does that public land meet up to private agriculture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a, like if I'm looking at something on the computer versus, or on my phone versus like that, I've never been there. I look for like peaks, hills, or ravines. Yeah, I'll look for like agriculture second, but just for the roost, just looking for those big ravine bottoms or the big peaks, because that's generally where you're going to find the birds roosting, either on the calm side, pick the calm side, and that's where they're going to be roosting, either down in or, yeah, up high, but just 3/4 down, 3/4 of the way down the hill, staying out of that wind.
Yep. Yep. And what about pine trees? Do you preference those, or there's certain like wood density that catch your eye on e-scouting? Like I've observed that traditionally pine trees in those locations seem to be regular roosting spots, at least in the kind of the forest that we deal with. But what do you think about that?
I mean, pine trees are very good. That's what I look for. White pines, red pines, maybe not as much like spruce, but yeah, the white pines, the red pines, all really good trees for sure. Gives them that wind block. Generally, it's pretty tight. Trees are pretty tight together. Good branches for them. Yeah.
I don't know this, but I wonder about that being like often in the spring, it's still cold at night where we are. And I mean, hunting in South Dakota where I hunt, there's not really other options in the places that I've hunted. But up here, I just wonder about that being like a little bit of extra shelter because there's still something on, because there's not always leaves even when we start hunting in Wisconsin. There's not on any of the other trees. So I don't know if everybody, I guess I don't know that in other areas. I wonder if that would hold as true. Like if you get down south and there's lots of foliage by the time they're hunting, if they see any kind of difference in tree.
One thing to keep in mind, there's like, if you find a field, whether it be ag or even, it doesn't necessarily have to be ag, it can be a hay field or a pasture where new stuff is greening up in the spring quickly. If you find pine trees along that too, like that's typically they're going to roost in those pines along that field, and you can kind of hedge your bet and say they're going to be near that. Now, that's again if it's relatively flat. Like I can take my piece of property for example, and there's ravine, right? Because there's creek that goes through it, and they'll roost on the top ridge, like between where the river bends, and I can see them in the trees from my deck. I can see them with my binoculars, and they'll either pitch down to my side into my food plot or to my field, or they'll pitch down to the neighbor's side. And more often than not, if I'm set up in the morning and just give a couple light calls or whatever, they come pitching right in. And I think it's really important for them too. Like when you drive around this time of year, right before season, you see them in the preferred areas, and that's such a big deal just to drive a little bit and find these flocks of birds before they start splitting off, so you know generally where they are.
That'll beat e-scouting any day of the week. Like you can sit there and look on your phone all you want and imagine where they would be, but putting miles on the tires and getting around, particularly now, it's the more that I've hunted, the higher it's become a priority for me to arrive a day early in sunlight to be able to get some picture. I mean, we have a lot of history in one location, so we got pretty good odds. But if you're going into a place blind, like say you're planning a trip or you're planning out your season, take the day off early the day before and make sure you put plenty of miles in the visible areas that you can get to get eyes on toms. There's nothing that beats that near evening time. The other thing I wanted to say was if you're looking on e-scouting, like I don't know what else to call it other than patches, landing zones or open areas, because it's typically the case that the toms in particular will pitch down to a trail or to an open patch, particularly if you got sun early in the morning. They're going to want to hit that. They're going to want to make themselves visible, and they're going to want to literally strut their stuff in those spaces. And those are staging areas that you can key in on if you're coming in the dark in particular and using a map to navigate to a place you've never been before. Those can be key landmarks that you're working towards. So just wanted to mention that as a key feature.
And too, like if you're getting in the dark, chances are turkeys are going to land there, or they may already be landing there. But if they're not, your decoy is going to be the first thing they see when the light comes up. And so you're just a lot more visible in those spots if you can set up in those areas too, or your decoys are if you're using a decoy. But yeah,
water, like I think check like to see if there's water too. Especially when I'm out in South Dakota, I always try and find water. Like the times up here in Wisconsin, there's water everywhere, but out there it's not as plentiful. So even a little creek or something like that, everything needs water.
That's right.
Water gives you a good idea too, because this, like a sandbar, is like the greatest scouting tool around water, right? You can see what animals are there and where they've been coming from and going to based on tracks in the sandbar. I have something that relates to the gear thing again. And you talk about things that you thought you needed the first time you went out. So the first time I was going to go with Ben, he's like, hey, we're going to go turkey hunting. Here's what you need. And he didn't say per se, like, camouflage is a given, right? So it was going to be really cold. So I checked the forecast and I wasn't quite sure what we were going to be doing. I wasn't a very experienced turkey hunter. I didn't know we were going to be running and gunning the whole time. So I wore a late season Cabela's onesie that I like to wear in really cold weather because I was like, I'm going to be sitting for a long time, potentially. Yeah. So I'm wearing this onesie and we get to this first spot and we hear turkeys, off the roost. They don't cooperate. And then he's like, all right, let's go. And so we are covering so much country and I am literally sweating my what's off. And there would be times where like he's taking me all over the place, up and down. And I'm like, eventually I had to like stop and just unzip and air out. And I was like, that is the last time I will ever wear this thing because I had no idea. And he didn't tell me he didn't tell me we're going to be running gunning the whole day. I just thought, we're going to call them off the roost. They're going to come in, but it's freezing out this morning. So I'm wearing this onesie.
I've got a great tip for that. And it's totally a nod to a partner of ours, but like, I was even doing
different. This is a different tip than don't bring a onesie.
Well, yeah, that's
go ahead. There's two tips though. Then
you can bring a onesie. Both of those. I feel like one of these times at turkey camp, we should play a game where like the loser of rook or card game has to wear like something like a Cabela's onesie, and then
you can have my onesie to wear. My onesie, you can have it.
If you would have had a backpack, you could have put your onesie in there. Just saying.
There you go.
It wants to fit. It's too big.
So I have to be a little bit honest here too, because I'm kind of learning that these things are things. And I can we name other companies on here? Or is that against the rule? Because an unnamed company.
No.
Okay, Diaphragm, awesome. Great stuff, love it. But they make this onesie, and I came across it, and I just had to be like, "Is this for real? Is it real?" And they weren't like sitting; they were wearing this onesie out to go field hunting. And I mean, it can't be wrong. Like as far as warmth, there's a part of me that was like, may it never be. No.
Are you talking ducks? Are you talking duck hunting or turkey hunting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's hard to tell.
Just like any hunting.
You suggested hunting water earlier for turkeys. I didn't know what onesies now.
Yeah.
Onesies in anything. It just kind of like I have this part of me that says we can't go back there. We had onesies when we were younger. We can't go back. And I know I'm just being irrational. I'm just being honest also. I'm just telling you that I
wore a heater bodysuit like rifle hunting, and that was the best thing. That was the best purchase I've ever made for whitetail hunting.
Dude, nice.
I never got cold. It was awesome. And that could
still wear a belt and pants under it or no pants?
Oh yeah, you wear like just normal some insulated stuff, but yeah.
Did you have pants?
Oh, I had pants.
You had pants and the onesie.
Yeah. So JD was gonna go somewhere, and I think I know where he was gonna go. We got some sweet gear from North Mountain Hard Gear, and it's these leafy suits that are lightweight and mesh, so you could wear just like some comfortable clothes and like warm clothes, and then throw that sucker right over the top, and it's like a leafy ghillie suit. It's not a onesie, but it's got a nice elastic waist on it. So, Trav, you might need a little more elastic than I would, but it can fit.
This right here, man, like wasn't planning to plug these guys, but this solves Johnny's problem. And
Yep.
I think the problem inherently is like, if you're going to run and gun and you got that cold spring morning, you can layer up under this even without camo. And if this comes up over it, like this is basically mesh with leafy suit. You can chuck this and drop layers. And so I would pick this up, but I think that's a great get for gear.
I'm gonna have to branch out, examine these onesies more carefully.
No, we don't want onesies, Trav. These are not onesies.
They're not onesies.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about like in the broader scope of my life, not turkey hunting.
Yeah, gotcha. Take like a journey.
Trav's got a journey with onesies to take, and
So I'm gonna
check back with us on.
We'll report back.
Okay, yeah. So zooming back into what we're looking for. That's a hard turn. I don't know how to make that turn, but we're going back to scouting. We were talking about Trav was offering water. Any other features that you're queuing in on or ways that you're finding the turkey?
I think this is an easy one, but I did it today with my boys. We went walking in some of the areas where we do turkey hunt. And again, simple as it may seem, but if there's people listening who are just kind of beginning, like obviously you're looking for tracks, but there are areas in a field where you might not see tracks, but you'll find feathers, you'll find that kind of stuff, like walking, covering ground, and just looking for sign. And again, I know that's super simple and basic for a lot of people, but if you're just starting out, like, hey, found a turkey feather, there was a turkey here. And if there's turkey, usually this time of year, like there was more than one here probably. So looking for those kind of things.
Good. Let's jump to I want to ask this question before. So you spot a turkey, and I got to confess, my first few years into turkey, I kept hearing this term roosting a bird, and I didn't inherently know what that meant right away, but I do now. And I think if you can accomplish this, I have learned from experience that it exponentially ups your chances of success the next morning. So just to be clear, what roosting means is you find a bird, observe the bird either audibly or visually, and then they will roost before the sun sets or relatively close. And then they're not going to generally move from that tree until the next day. So you locate where they are, go get a good night's rest, wake up early, and you got a beat on them. So as far as it relates to roosting birds in particular, talk a little bit about that, how you've done that in the past. Any mistakes to avoid in roosting birds, like getting too close to them, or how do you not screw it up, but get the intel you need for the next day?
So one thing I think to keep in mind is that generally speaking, when you see a turkey in the morning, like early morning, he's going out feeding, he's on his little route, but at night, probably he's going to backtrack and come back the other direction and head back to his roost. Does it always go that way? No, but typically they like to roost in similar areas. So bear with me, right? You fly down from the roost, you head out to the field to strut, to eat, do whatever. And then later you're coming back along a similar route back to that same general area. If nothing's boogered you, a turkey can do that. So it can be a little predictable. You talk about how you can make owl calls, Ben, and you can or you can make troll calls, coyote calls, those kind of things.
You can honk your truck. You can
make a noise, and they're gonna shock gobble.
Yep.
Yeah, they're gonna shock gobble, and you're gonna be like, oh, they're over there in that general area, and that gives you a good idea of where they might be. And the saying goes, roosted doesn't always mean roasted, because you can really mess it up. If you come in the morning with your super bright headlamp and you set up 50 yards away from that tree, that bird's probably gonna be like, I've been watching you all morning, I'm going the other way. So just not getting too close to the roast. Yeah.
If you get in too late.
I think too, there's a big difference between public and private land.
Yeah.
I've noticed
Right.
like where we hunt in Wisconsin, like JD was saying earlier, we kind of have it dialed in on a lot of the properties we go to. And we know year after year, like I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a turkey roosted in these group of trees without even going there the day before. And then day to day, even like turkeys will roost in the same trees day to day. Whereas we've noticed like on public land, that's not a guarantee at all. You can go in, you can find birds, you can find them on the ground, you can find them in the middle of the day, and then maybe have them roosted in the morning or in the evening or whatever. And then the next day, and they're in a totally different spot. Even if you didn't bugger them, that's just, I feel like they just are a little more pressured on public land. There's a little less security, so they move around a lot more.
Yeah, one more thing to add with that is when we were talking to Roy Holford, Turkey Van Tour, former the hunting public intern, he saw a marked difference between a Western style or Western hunting context and Eastern turkeys. In that he said the Western turkeys, if you don't roost them, your likelihood of getting them is much lower because they have so much wider ranging area that they cover out there. And he was like, unless you are in the direction that they want to go in that particular morning, good luck because they have so much more ground that they cover. And as soon as he said that, I don't know if you guys remember having that experience in South Dakota, but I was like, oh, that makes a ton of sense.
They will not go to the same roost.
Yeah. They were never they were in the general area, but never in the same tree out in South Dakota. And they would go in different directions. And I remember a particular hunt I was on with Dad where like they were gobbling like, I don't know, like 75 yards. And I'm like, we got this in the bag. And then they just went the other direction and there was no chance. Like they would respond to us, but they were so fallen hands. So.
Yeah, I think on the roost with our Wisconsin experience, you can depend on that, right? But that's not the case. You can't. I've been now back a couple times, and I assumed I was going to find turkeys where we found them the years before or the year before. I've been twice. Now I struck out every single time. I went to the places we saw turkeys to try and roost them, to try and get there, to put them to bed. And I struck out every single time. Yeah. So I think that difference is important depending on where you're listening to this and where you're going to hunt turkeys. But to circle back to the fundamental to roosting or putting a turkey to bed, I think that is the most beneficial scouting you can do because that is universal. If you are out west or you're easterns, if you know where they went to bed, you know where they're going to wake up. So if we can, there is some truth to the difference. Like when we go down to where our family hunts, we rarely will actually roost a bird more than we just draw straws to pick who's going where because we kind of have an idea. And then as the trip progresses, then we try more and more to roost them. But I think that regardless of where you're going, if you can find one before dark, that's a great thing.
And so that brings up the great next stage. So whether or not you have the birds roosted the night before, if you got them roosted, you might be going in a particular area. But if you don't, you're walking in the dark and trying to locate birds in the morning or getting them to gobble. So what have you guys found? What have you landed on in your process of getting those first gobbles of the morning? So that's the first question. And then the second part of the question is if you then do locate them, how close is too close and how far is too far for a setup?
I don't know. That's what I was saying earlier at the very beginning. I love about turkey hunting because just when you think you have it figured out, the birds will change or they'll do something different. And so you can go in with a strategy of like, I'm going to go in and hen call and I'll probably get something to gobble at me. And you can go in and hen call, not get a gobble. And then you walk another 30 feet and you're quiet. And then you're just sitting there, walk another maybe 100 yards or whatever, no calling. And a gobbler will go off right there. And there's nothing you didn't call or anything, so I think, and then some mornings you go in, you call and you get 10 gobblers to go from every different finger of a different valley in the, 2 square miles or whatever. So it just really, it depends on what's going on. And And then as far as like setting up close, I don't know. It really depends on the terrain and your daylight in the morning. The terrain you have and how much daylight there is already in the sky is a big determining factor, because those turkeys can see, like you're saying, your headlamp or even just you in the woods from so far away. So you just really got to be mindful of that.
I try to, when I'm going in, I'm not really making any noise as far as calling. I am listening for, like, for whatever reason. I think the areas I hunt, it's like crows are my biggest tip off. Crows get going right away in the morning, and if it's the right time of year, the birds are just hammering back every time a crow calls. And so I do carry a crow call, I carry an owl call, but for me, usually I just hammer on a crow call if birds are not really responsive when it's like early in the morning. And once I locate one, then I will just do some soft yelps, nothing too aggressive, but just some soft stuff. And you can get them to hammer back most of the time. I think it's interesting when the birds hit the ground, then you have to take their temperature, right? You have to see, are they fired up, or are they just like, I'm just giving you that courtesy gobble like we were talking about with Roy? Like,
Yeah.
are they fired up? Are they alone and they're coming, or are they just like, I'm just gonna hammer back because you can come join us if you want, but I got some other ladies around here. So I think reading that situation is hugely important too. Taking the temperature, I would call it.
Yep. What you guys have any thoughts on that? So you do locate a gobbler in the tree. How close is too close? How far is too far for this is a decoy scenario? But even if you're setting up with natural terrain, how and we talked about in a previous episode this concept of a bubble, which may not apply as much in this scenario because they're flying out of a tree. But what do you guys think about that for a morning setup?
I think every time I go, I try and convince myself that I can go a little further, and I'm always battling the same fear at the same time. Yeah, it varies. Like Cody, you're right. Your terrain, that varies. That changes things, how light it is. But there's almost a part of me that wants to push the envelope because it's so fun, even though sometimes I pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, but I would say, like, if you're going to try and pick a number, 100 yards seems like a good, safe number. If you can get within 100 yards, or you're 100 yards from where they're roosting, that's pretty close. That's pretty good.
Ooh, that's close.
But I feel like there's a part that's close. Yeah.
Close.
I feel like you start getting any closer than that, but there's always this part of me, like, we've had some unbelievable hunts together where we've been so close, and it just worked that we could do that, and you kind of just play that by ear. But if you're going to say a safe number, 100 yards, I don't know that I would push much closer than that if you're trying to provide like a rule of thumb. But I feel like you got to say part of your hunting style too. And part of mine is I like to try and do that because it's fun.
There's a spot where we hunt that we call the Eagle's Nest. And it's kind of a prime example of what we would talk about, like historic roosting spot with a couple clearings. And I think the year over year when we've hunted that, our confidence has actually have grown a little bit, and it's weather dependent. So if there's a good breeze that's covering your sound, you can get in a little bit. But there's a particular landing or clearing that literally is like 30 yards from where these turkeys, where these toms roost. We've had a couple just awesome experiences because there's a trail that can get you there without being seen before you arrive in that clearing. And if you're super sneaky, we've had some really fun stories of being like right under the gobbles, and it's hard to beat that experience. We've had a couple fun stories that way. Ben, you were going to jump in and offer something. What were you saying?
Yeah, I do love to get close to turkeys on roost. Should you? No. I don't think you should. I like to if you can see a turkey, you're way too close because he can see you.
Way too close.
The other problem is you can hear a tom in the morning and guys get just fired up, and then they get closer and closer and closer. But it's not until you hear that hen just start, and then you're like, oh, dang, got busted.
Yeah.
And then that hen goes the other way. Tom follows her right away. So I tell guys, try to get where you know those birds are going to go. and then don't push it. A couple hundred yards is not hard to call a turkey if it's not educated, because it's going to pitch down. It might cover 30, 40, 50 yards. I've seen them glide into, Trav's decoys the one year from 250 yards. So don't push it. Don't wreck your hunt first thing in the morning, even though it is super fun to get in that close. Second,
Well, I just want to highlight that, Ben, and you might be getting into this, but that little tidbit you said, like knowing where they're going to go so that the decision to come to you is as easy as it can be for them. Because if you're setting it up opposite to where they want to go, and that comes into scouting the ag or food source and those open spaces, and all of that's going on in your mind. Like, okay, they're there. Do I think they're going to pitch down to the south or the north? Do we got to get around to get in? So yeah, that's almost more important than getting closer, is getting on the path of least resistance that you think is in their mind. That's what you're saying, right?
correct. Yep. Yeah. And honestly, a lot of times if you get in to be, let's say 100 yards from a turkey and they pitch down out of roost, they generally don't even pitch down towards you. Like if you get too close to them, they pitch away from you and then they work their way back to you. The other thing I was going to say though is this is more like a private land tip, or like we hunt down south on private land or wherever we're going. If we know we're going to have more guys that want to get another bird out of that same area, you want to try to get away from their roost a little bit further, 300-400 yards, because if you blow up the roost, the toms aren't coming back there that night, the next day, that week. It's going to take a while for them to get back there. So if you can work your way down the ridge, get in a good spot, you might be able to kill a tom off of that hunt and have a tom that was in that same roost that same morning. He might already be walking away or following some other hens and not know anything happened. He just heard a shot long ways away. So I don't like to blow up roosts, and I don't like to screw up a morning hunt. So I generally stay a couple hundred yards back.
You Puritan.
Sorry, Trav.
And then sometimes it just comes down to like even if you like, I don't know. I remember Trav and I, when we were in South Dakota, we had one experience. This was actually the first time we found turkeys, and it was amazing. It was one of the funnest memories of turkey hunting I ever had. And we didn't actually shoot anything, but we had these like, I don't know, what is it, 5-6 toms or something. And we found them, and we knew like within probably 100-200 yards where they were. And then we come over this hill, and they're down a valley and then up on like 3/4 of the way down on another hill. And we knew like, okay, they're going to be down here in this valley. That's where they're going to want to be. But the problem was it was too light by the time we got up to the top of the hill. So we found the best cover we could. We knew we wanted to be right down here, but we knew if we got down there, the turkeys would see us. And sure enough, that's exactly where the turkeys went, right down in that valley. And we could not, I ended up eventually calling the hen, trying to call the hen because the hen wanted so bad to come to us. But the toms, it was wild. I've never seen it like that before, but the hen was trying to come to us, and the toms would literally like bump into her and push her around. It was crazy. They were not having any of it. We didn't have a tom decoy that day though. I feel like maybe if we did, it would have been a little different, but yeah, it was crazy.
No, we did.
Did we?
Didn't we have a tom? Yeah.
I think we had like a Jake. Maybe we did have Tom. I don't know, but
no, we had a hen and a tom, and they would not come. They would not. Yeah. That was 2 hours. I needed a better seat cushion. That's what I needed.
You needed a onesie.
I was sitting on a rock. Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
You needed a onesie, Travis. A onesie.
I needed something better.
That's good.
I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about calling yet, but if you're talking about roosting, number 2 biggest, like second largest mistake I see guys make. Number 1, they set up too close. Number 2, they'll come in, and this is probably Trav. You'll come in, you'll like you think you're in this, like, oh, I made it. I got here. He's not spooked at all. They start to call. When you talk to the turkeys in the trees, you have to talk to them like you're in a tree. So you have like your tree calls, your soft clucks, your purrs, so I'll do everything very, very soft. And I know they can hear me once they respond back. So I'll go as soft as I can until they respond. Don't go heavy. I mean, a turkey, when you wake up in the morning and you just hear a hen just hammering something, it just seems off. Now you can work your way up. Like you can go into, once I get into my like fly down call, man, I'm really putting, and, and then you fly down and then you can start making a bunch of noise. But guys will just sit and call and call and call and call at birds on roost, and it's just not normal to go loud and often. Just locate them. Once I locate them, talk to them a little bit, let them know you're there. Then just take a little break. Let the sun come up, or let it get light out.
I think that's one of the hardest things to do, what you just said. I've had a lot of instances of like getting so amped, like auditory experience of locating a gobbler, setting up, getting situated, doing that soft cluck, and then they just hammer it. You're like, let's go. And then you gotta wait. Like oftentimes if you got them roosted, and it is so tempting to throw out another cluck or throw out something else just for your own reassurance. And sometimes they don't respond. And then you start getting all these mental head games. And I've been guilty of like trying a little bit more or trying a little bit different call just to get some reassurance, because your mind starts playing tricks on you and it starts saying, oh, he flew down the other direction and I've got to locate him, but he's just not out of the tree yet. So that's kind of a tough tension to sit and shut up, be still, and wait, because I often think they're going to get off their roost faster than they do. Or sometimes they surprise me and come right off. But that waiting game between locating setup and waiting for them to come down seems like an eternity, but it's well worth the wait. And you could screw it up if you keep getting anxious about getting another gobble out of them.
So I'm not saying don't get them, like, don't go sit there and not call at all, but just get them to gobble a few times and then just leave them be for a little bit. Give them a 5 to 10 minute, and then break your calls up a little bit. Don't just hit the same exact cadence every time. Go soft. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say if you're close enough, you can see them still in the tree. So you know they're there.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But not.
No, you're not. We've done that before.
I know.
That has happened. All right, let's talk about then. You got them located. You give them that little break. Walk us through. You can bust out your calls. I told you guys to bring your calls. Demonstrate for us. It's going to sound horrible on the podcast. Sorry. So we're much better callers than it sounds. We're actually not.
I was like, are we? Are we? I don't know.
Ben is. Cody is. No one else is.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
Jonny
on that
does
level.
okay. Johnny does okay.
What
but
are you?
Ben, I just learned from listening to Ben. So
what are you doing? How are you communicating after that 5 minutes?
I defer to Ben.
Are they down? Or are they in the tree? What are they doing?
In the tree. They're still in the tree.
Oh, well, Ben kind of covered that, I feel like, with just like the breaking up the cadence, still giving them a little bit. I think one thing, and again, this is from private land experience where I know where they kind of roost, but if you're within 100 yards or not within 100, I'm sorry, if you're in with like 200 yards, however far you are away, you can usually hear them get amped up, and then you can hear them pitch down. You can hear their wings going. They make a lot of racket coming down. Once they're down, I've like simulated that noise as well. Like I've brought like turkey wings with me, and I've tried to beat the ground a little bit, make a little bit of noise, and then I'll give it to them a little bit on the I'll start cutting and everything just to let them know that, hey, I'm down too. Come on over.
Yeah, you guys do anything different?
Sure. I mean, for me, when they're in the trees and they're getting close to coming down, that's when I'm just doing the real soft tree clucks, purrs, putts. But when I kind of want them to come down, when I'm like, okay, coffee's down, I'm ready, I want you to come, so I'm going to get you here, then I do my own fly down call. And I just start the process a little bit. That's at least how it seems sometimes. But yeah, you do that fly down call. Once you hit the ground, and like Jonny said, you rake the ground a little bit, sound like you're a turkey that just hit the ground and you're starting to scratch, then you can go into your little more aggressive calling, because now you're just a hen on the ground trying to get that tom to come your way. So that's, going heavy once it hits the ground. Yeah.
Can you either demonstrate or describe what a fly down call is or what you use for that?
Oh, man, I could try. I don't know. So this is not an excuse, but I was going to trim up my calls when I haven't even put one in my mouth yet this year. So this is an untrimmed, and this is a call I've never used before. Bo Brooks used these calls. I run zinc calls. Best calls ever made right here.
Zinc
Best
calls?
ones.
Sweet.
Best ones you've ever used.
We'll link them in the bio.
Yeah, tell us what they are. Zinc what?
So
what's
I get
the series you got there?
So I get the signature pack. It's a 3-pack right there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this works.
Cool.
That's my favorite of the 3 more aggressive calls. Those are triple. This is the double. That's your softer tree working, purring. It's called the Wicked Lady. Those are the 4 zinc calls I run the most. Now I have like a Thunder Fang, and I run a bunch of different ones, but those are my main 4 that I use. But I do have these new ones that I said I just got this year. I'm not going to say I love them, but they're the only ones that I do have trimmed up. So I could try one of these quick.
So when you say trimmed up, what do you mean by trimmed up? Do you mean creating this
Cut the
section,
excess off.
this section so it fits in your mouth? So cutting the excess so it actually fits the shape of your mouth.
Correct.
This stuff. Yep.
Well, I'll take let's just say in between a 16th and an 8th off the whole outer edge on that. So it fits in my mouth better. And then I'll get like a natural, I'll kind of shape it a little bit. And
the key is that your mouth shape, you might not require as much trimming if you kind of want to, that's something you learn right over time.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, you can learn just by taking a full call, putting it in your mouth. And when you blow air, if you don't get air coming off the latex and you have air escaping behind it, it's not seating right. So then keep cutting it until it seats. But like Trav said, just keep taking little bits at a time, or else you'll just wreck your call. But anyways,
It's good.
I mean, I can give it a rip and see how these new calls work. I did get this trimmed up.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going to try with my. I don't really love this one.
So that's your fly down call there, or are you just giving us
no
a little bit?
No, that's just a normal. I could trim one up quick. Give me a second.
I think one thing. So while Ben's figuring that part out real quick, I talked about the wing beats and all that stuff, and trying to make natural noises like a turkey. And that's one thing I think we talked about with Roy too. But you don't have to be quiet. It's not like deer hunting necessarily, where in some deer hunting you can be louder, but you can make some noise. And if you don't have a turkey wing to beat on the ground or whatever, or make that noise, one thing I've seen and done too is you take your hat off and you make that noise with your hat. So you can make those noises with your hat just as well.
I have heard that the HuntXP hats actually make fantastic.
Yeah. So if you get this one,
specifically
especially,
that one.
Yeah, or with the all black on it. And I think you should get 2 so you can have one in
this
your
one.
hand.
This
Yeah.
one.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
See, that sounded great. Yeah.
Yep. Who would it?
We need one of those.
I should put
we
that
need
in the description.
Need a HuntXP goose flag. That's what we need.
Yeah, no kidding.
There you go.
I'm going to try I got to get ready to put some kids to bed. So while Ben's trimming I bought the same 2 Primos calls my whole life. I just buy them year after year because I'm a simpleton.
Yep.
So I don't want to ruin our zinc sponsorship or anything like that, but I can find them at our local L&M. So that's what I do. I'll do mine, and then it can be terrible.
Great. I'll just add another brand in and say Woodhaven is my go-to. That's what I use. Jonny, what do you use? And then we'll hear
I
from you.
I have Woodhavens, and I'm trying out just for fun. I'm trying out these bone collector ones this year. I used them a couple years ago and I liked them, but primarily I've used Woodhaven.
Let's hear your trap.
I do. I try and do something like that. You can do it really well on a box call too. You can put your thumb kind of on it, just fast.
Yeah.
But like something like that is the fly down that I use, just to kind of give that fast descending call, I guess is kind of how I understand it. And I build into it with the soft stuff that Ben's talking about. Mm-hmm. Then once they hit the ground, it's kind of you're feeling out where they're at, how aggressive they are. I mean, I've had to where you don't have to call at all after that.
Right.
You know, they're coming.
They're coming. Yeah.
And then Ben can do some more for you. There you go.
I used to use Fox Pro, and it's not that I wanted to change from that at all. Those ones are getting old, so I bought a zinc one, and I've been practicing a little bit with this one so far. I haven't cut it yet, but it sits pretty good.
Give us your morning routine.
It all depends on what they're doing, but soft stuff, and then, I mean, like if I'm trying to get it, like the cutting that you just did, if you're trying to get something like really fired up, that works pretty good when you do the quick stuff. So, you know, stuff like that is
pretty, like stepping up.
Yeah, but that's a lot. Like that's the most that you would want to do, I feel like, at a time.
Well, yeah, the cut is different. A cut is different, right? Like you wouldn't cut like the fly down, just kind of like them. Yeah. It's almost like a cackle.
I mean, it's just a fast cut. It's like, but I should be able to do it. I'm just really laying an egg here, big time.
Some people have performance issues. It's not.
I'm having performance. It's for sure me. It's definitely me.
It's not you. It's me.
Yeah.
This is a crowd.
Why?
I'm gonna put some kids to bed.
All right, Trav. Thank you for.
Can I tell one story before I go?
Yeah, I'm getting better.
I feel like I have this story that is just so unreal. We had a foreign exchange student from Mexico. Cody we were all young.
Alex.
And
this is a good one.
It started with the normal. Normally we go by twos. Normally we hunt in duos, right? Caller or shooter, or if we're lucky, like JD and I have doubled before and that's fun. My goodness, to get to. I've doubled with my brother-in-law and other guys. It's super fun. But most of the time we have one guy shooting. Well, it started with two of us, and we're hunting a familiar spot. There's all the property comes to this one high point, and JD mentioned it earlier. We called it the Eagle's Nest. So it was towards the end of the trip, and I honestly don't even remember who we were trying to get a turkey for at that point. Was it you, JD?
It was me.
Mm-hmm. It was JD. Okay.
Yep.
And so it's me. I think it started off as me and JD, and then there was maybe my brother-in-law Levi's like, I want to go. And we're like, oh my gosh, I think maybe we could. Was there? And then Cody and Alejandro.
I wasn't there for that one. I wasn't there. Alex was there though.
Did we have 4 guys, or was there 5 of us at the end? Was there 4?
I think it was 4. Yeah.
Oh my! And either way, we crawled up under this deadfall, right to it. I mean, we were breaking all of Ben's rules, and we had 4 guys. Ben would have been screaming at us.
He would have been real mad.
It was so bad. I mean, it was dark enough. We were so quiet, and we got 4 guys into this deadfall, right? This tree had come down, and it was where all the branches were. So we had pretty good cover. And Alex is sitting next to me. I'm trying to call, and it's like, I'm just thinking the whole time, this is ridiculous. There's no way in the world we're going to get this turkey. But we actually ended up calling in the hen, and the hens came right through 5 yards. Would you say, JD? I mean, they came so down close. Off the roost.
Yeah.
Down off the roost in the 5 yards from us. And we're just, this little foreign exchange student is shaking next to me. He kept trying to move his phone up like this. And I just kept like, no,
don't move.
No, don't move. Don't move. And he kept he kept every 30 seconds. I about whacked him.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the tom is up on, like, kind of, you get the layout. We're on this flat, and the tom is on the ridge to our left, and he's
On the
coming
hillside.
down, and he's up high. He does not want to come down. And I think I was calling. Was I calling? You were shooting. So I just kept calling him slow and steady, and I didn't need to do very much at all because the hens were down there talking. And eventually we got that sucker with all 4 of us. Alejandro, he was so pumped up, he had no point of reference for that kind of thing. And it was so fun. It was crazy. 4 guys in this deadfall tree, 5 yards from the hens. And JD's just you're just sitting on a stump on the end of it.
Yeah, you guys were back in the deadfall, and I was like on the end sitting on a stump. And I remember that because I had nothing to rest my shotgun on.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for that.
Yeah.
The hens all came down into the deeks, and we're just milling around at like 5 yards in front of us.
5 or 6 yards, yeah.
And we put the deeks way too close to us because we didn't want to get too far into the clearing.
Good story as far as fundamentals go.
No, don't do it like this. Yeah. But I remember distinctly that Tom was up at like 30 yards on the side of the ridge and going back and forth, or not 30, probably like 40 yards back and forth.
It was up off your left, so you could not turn. We had no blind.
Didn't have a shot, no blind, and then he finally got so mad at his hens that he came storming down right in front, and then I shot him, and it was like a touchdown pass at a ball game because it just like the woods erupted. We're just like, and then Alejandro, like this Mexican kid in northern Wisconsin, was just cool.
What did he say to me? He's like, I didn't get any of that on my phone. I was like, shut up. Who cares? We got the turkey.
What about your brain? Did you get any of that in your brain? Yeah.
I know. And what I've learned over the years, you probably got to have one guy on a camera. I'm no good at that. I was like, if you move, I'm going to beat you to death after this hunt is done. Don't move. Yeah. Good story. We have tons. I got to go put some kids to bed though. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Trav.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's hear the fly down. I want to hear what that is specific, like what you do specifically.
And we're all pissing our wives off right now.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
We're gonna hear it. Yeah.
Did you hear? Okay, right. You did. Okay.
Break it down. What are you doing with the fly down?
Okay, so I'm starting in the tree. Okay, like they're in the tree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going just real soft, and then once you get ready to get like to where they're going to cut down, you just start to go harder.
That's the cut.
Then once they hit the ground, and then little quick pause. Yep.
Yeah.
Little pause. Mm-hmm. To where you're just more talking to them at that point.
You're trying to imitate a hen, like, hey, where y'all at? Or like, hey, I'm over here.
Yep.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, so once you do that quick, pap, 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 and then they hit the ground, that's where you can kind of draw it out a little bit. You're just saying, hey, I'm here, where you at? It's just more of but then you can also, like when hens hit the ground, they're scratching, they don't necessarily care about the tom. So like, you just got to start acting like what a hen will do when it hits the ground. She starts milling around. I'm sure you hear, like Jonny said, scratching. I mean, then that's where you start to become that hen on the ground.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just going soft and hard, and then now you're listening to the tom too. Yeah, at that point.
So let's talk about that. What are you hoping for from the tom? You're hoping for gobbles back, flying down in your direction, and then you mentioned earlier you almost always are running a tom decoy. assuming the scenario you're trying to set up is there's a competing tom going for a hot hen.
Yeah.
And you want to take them off audibly and visually to create a dynamic there, and particularly the dominant tom of a group, right?
Correct. Yep. So yeah, when you're talking to the tom up in, he's still in the tree, you're on the ground, other hens are down on the ground, moving your way, hopefully. I like to run that tom decoy. Early season, I'm always going to have a tom decoy. Those toms like to be together. Even if they're not like fighting, they like to join up the toms. They get out of the tree, they join up. So I like to create, like, I'll get that tom. If I'm by myself, I'll just throw the tom in between me and the roosted bird, give it like 25, 30 yards, call it good. If it's like, if I'm calling for a guy, I'll drop back like 15 yards further and put him with that tom decoy. Or I'll take the tom decoy with me and maybe get him in between the tom and the tom decoy. The bird can actually see. So if he hangs up at all, he's right there, so, but by myself, I just stay in line with the tom, and 20, 25 yards. That's about it. That's where I'll put it out. But once, and when the tom hits the ground, I think that's where you're getting at. Once that tom hits the ground and you hear it, then I like to get after it. I mean, then then you're getting after calling. You're calling hard. You're calling aggressive. At least for that first 2, 3, 4 minutes, you're calling hard at him. You're trying to get him to turn your way. But then you got to just give him a break. If he's gobbling at you nonstop, give him a break. Biology for a turkey is that hen goes to the tom, not the tom goes to the hen. So it's not like you want to sit and keep hammering at a tom. He'll just gobble and gobble and gobble and just say, hey, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here. And almost expect you to go over there unless you call the hens with them. If you call the hens over, then you're doing good. But don't just sit and hammer and hammer and hammer at that tom, especially if the other hens aren't coming. Shut up, be quiet, let that tom be like, oh, well, she kind of just gave up on me. I'm gonna head over there. I'm gonna check it out, or give him a gobble.
Yeah,
and it's amazing how you can shut up and Ben, you had told me before too when I was first getting into it, like if you got one responding to you, shut up and wait there for 45 minutes. Like, you can call intermittently in that time, but like give that bird some time to get there. They're like, I've had birds I've seen in the field and they've held tight and they haven't moved for 20 minutes and they're just strutting like she's going to come to the edge of the field and she's going to see me and she's going to walk right to me. Well, then after a while, when you don't do that, then the bird's like, okay, maybe I better go check it out. And he will pinpoint and walk to exactly where you called. The animals are so incredible with that. They hear the call and they're like, I know exactly where that is. I will go right exactly to that spot if they're searching.
Yeah. If you get a tom to respond to you once or twice and you're just running and gunning, I won't leave that spot within that 30 minutes. Like, even if he doesn't respond back again, I just sit down, wait, watch, because they could just be coming. A lot of times they're just coming and they're just quiet. So
slow. Yeah.
Slow.
So a story that I just told earlier, I don't think that tom gobbled a lot. He was up on that hill and he was just fanned out. And all he was trying to do was visually say, what the heck, hens? Why are you not coming up to me to the high ground? So it's a lot of times they'll just find us a spot to sit there and strut, like Jonny was saying, and they can be over the ridge and you wouldn't even know it.
For sure.
That's good. You were getting into this with the gobble call. So there's certainly scenarios where they're hung up or you're not pulling them over the way that you thought you are. So when do you kind of change up strategies, and what are kind of your backup plans to throw at them to kind of shake things up a little bit?
Can you see the bird? Is that like, can you see him at this point?
It's a good question. Give us both answers, yes and no.
Okay.
If no, what? If yes, what?
If I sat somewhere for a while and that bird was answering back, and then he just went quiet, and it's been 45 minutes and no respond, going silent didn't work, then I would start I'd either look at the terrain to see where I could start looping back to where he's at, or just take a straight line right at him if I have stuff to hide behind. I don't normally call at that point once I'm back on the move till I can get to a high point or till I get to a spot where I'm ready to be hidden. Because the closer you're getting to him, if he stays there and you rip it off, all of a sudden he rips back and just comes running and you're not ready at all. That's happened so many times where you're just,
Yeah,
that's
I've
the
done that
funnest
as
thing
well.
about, yeah, funnest thing about turkey
Where
hunting, the panic sets in.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
crap.
close to one before,
Is there a
literally, where I had no idea. I was 20 yards away from the turkey. And with the topography, I was on this side of the hill, and I was like, well, I can probably call because there's a tree behind me, and it's okay. I called literally no gobble. It ran. I could hear it just booking over the hill, and it busted me. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And that was a learning moment for sure.
We confirmed this with Roy Holford from Turkey Van Tour when we talked with him, because I had learned it from our crew about being or getting in the Tom's bubble, where like you might be just outside of it and they don't want to come to you. But once you get in, they're 100 yards or whatever that is.
Yep.
And you don't, if you don't got a visual, you don't know you're in it until you hit it and they either sprint at you or respond. But yeah,
I think part of the bubble too, I was thinking about this based on what I said earlier. That bubble is bigger or smaller depending on, again, I'm going to use the word, the turkey's temperature, because I have called and I've seen across my field and my neighbor's field. I mean, that's like 400 yards. And I have had a Tom run on a beeline straight to me after just like I called, he gobbled, I called again, he cut me off and just came sprinting from 400 yards right to the decoy and shot him. So I think that bubble is bigger or smaller depending on how fired up they are.
Yeah. And you said, could he see you? You said, Johnny?
He did. Yeah. He did.
Yep.
Yeah. He came on. Well, actually the first time I called, I had driven down the road on a neighboring road. There's a field that connects to my field, but there's a strip of woods between. And I drove down the road on the other side and I saw him out in that field. Well, then I drove back to my house and got set up and I called. And again, he's like 400 yards away and he gobbled back. And then he came running into the field and then he saw the decoy and then he really turned it on. And yeah, he just came flying in.
Yeah. So that's where, JD, to answer your one question, what you do if they're not responding anymore, what do you do on a hang up? I try to get that Tom decoy in front of me and I close the distance. And if I can get that Tom or a group of turkeys to see that Tom decoy, I mean, I like to say it's game over. It's not always game over, but I like to get that, close the distance, get into that bubble. And if you can get that Tom decoy into another Tom's bubble, it's going to come over and push that other Tom out of there. And so, I mean, that's when you're crawling, hiding behind your Tom, moving in.
Hey there, thanks for watching this video. I'm JD, founder and crew member of the HuntXP team. We're so grateful that you took time to watch this video, and hopefully it's helping you level up your hunting game. That's what we and our community is all about, and we want to invite you into this growing community of hunters. It's all about leveling up each other's hunting game. So the first thing you can do is like and subscribe, but even more than that, we got some fun things going on over at our website, huntxp.com. We'd love for you to join our community there and stay connected with what we're doing, what we're working on, and we'd love to hear about what you're after. So thank you for watching this video. We'll see you next time.
Behind the scenes bonus banter.
Cody, you gonna turkey hunt in Idaho?
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna take Lydia out for the first time. She's never been before, so I got some spots that I need to like go and check out in person and try and figure out exactly where the birds are at. But guy from church it's pretty gratifying actually, because I was like doing some e-scouting and I was like, you know what, I bet this area would be pretty sweet. And then I talked to this guy at church and he was like, this is where I always see turkeys, and it was right where I was scouting. So I was like, all right, perfect. But I actually have to go there and find the turkeys where they're roosting at, but I have a pretty good idea. So, but
It's public.
yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, it's crazy out here, man. There's like, I don't know. There's so much public land. It's wild. But yeah, it's good. Lots of spots to hunt. So
Loving the background, Ben.
Yeah.
Epic
Yep.
turkey background.
Oh, and my wife is here, trying to help me with some service.
Hey, Shelby.
Hi.
I was digging through my diaphragm call holder and pulled out this elk bugle call. Glad I discovered that now and not like in the middle of putting, I think I would have figured it out.
Could be onto something new.
Yeah, there you go. All right, team, this is going to be fun. We a couple times have, I don't know if it was directly from guests, but fans of the pod are like, hey, your guests are awesome, but we would love to just hear more from you guys too and get your take on things. So that's a bit of the impetus of this. Like, let's just talk some turkey. Back.
is this okay?
Brilliant, dude.
No,
It's better.
I don't know.
It's okay enough.
Terrible.
It's aggressively average. I don't know if you listened to the last podcast, but I was doing shout outs of our new Instagram followers, and there's someone's handle that was aggressively average outdoorsman. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Me and JD just took that and ran with it because it was the best.
That
I
is
love
awesome.
I love that.
I feel like that's a great shirt. I feel like that
Yeah.
define me.
Aggressively average outdoorsman. Great, man. Well, let me pray. Jonny and I have been in the habit of doing that, and then we'll jump into it.
I'm just going to bow my head so the only shiny thing in chat is Cody's head.
Yeah, look at this. I got lots of light.
You're getting some sun out there too, dude.
It's like the moon.
We don't have that until May, apparently. So
I just feel good that it's you, Cody, because you're the youngest, and the rest of your body still looks younger than me, but your head looks older than mine. It's great.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Jesus, thank you for this fun thing we get to do. Just thinking of our families, our wives, probably putting kids to bed or wrangling them. We're grateful for them, how they empower us to live into our passions and our hobbies here. We pray that this conversation would be honoring to you as we're looking towards Easter. God, just help us to more deeply embody with our speech and the way we carry ourselves, that it would be a representation of your sacrifice and commitment to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Man,
Amen.
All right. Well, we've been recording, but I'll jump in.